February 13th. It is 7:03 p.m. Kingston, New Hampshire Historic District Commission meeting. My name is Susan Prescott. I'm the chair.
Virginia Morris, vice chair.
Glenn Koppelman, select board representative.
Madeline Willett, member.
Dan Doyle, member.
Stanley Shalette, member.
Sarah Bufano, recording secretary.
Thank you very much. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from January 9th. Did everyone get a chance to look over them?
The only thing I saw was our names were spelled wrong in the, well, they were spelled right in the members, but then as we went through the text, I think Dan's name got spelled wrong and my name got spelled. My first name got spelled wrong once and then the last name got spelled wrong the second time, which is, mine's complicated. But that's all I saw.
You did a nice job.
Yes, you did.
So shall we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended with the minor corrections.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Excuse me, I can't talk and write at the same time. Any more discussion? No? All in favor of approving the minutes as amended? Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Stanley
January.
abstains because he wasn't here.
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, thank you. Very good. We're going to move right along to town board updates, starting with the selectmen, please.
Okay, first of all, you all know that we have lost our local newspaper, which is a real loss and a real shame. You know, even though over the years we've lost coverage at meetings by a reporter, at the very least it was a place to get local news and read notices for meetings and hearings, and so it's a shame. Anyway, this is one copy of the last issue. I'm going to provide it to the chair and vice chair. I don't know if you want it for the archives or the records. Ellie Alessio, the former editor and owner of the paper, was able to get a bunch of copies, and she provided me with a stack of them, enough to give to each of my liaison groups, the boards and such. So that's for you.
Thank you very much.
And so do we have a place now that we're the go-to place to do a public notice, for example?
Right, so for most land use boards, for most of our regular business, and this is going to get a little complicated, so you can just do it briefly. You don't need to do it word for word, Sarah. There's actually, Zoning Board of Adjustment has not been captured in this yet, but there's legislation for this year to get them onto the same page as everybody else, and that is that realizing that local newspapers were going away, the legislature has made changes over the years to not make that a requirement for our posting. So, and I haven't checked specifically for HDC, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that, because I know it's correct for planning board, that legal notices now, you can still do a newspaper if you want for one posting, but you can substitute the town's website as that. And it's
on a prominent page.
it needs to be right there when you go to the website. It has to be either a link to get right to it or something. You can't have to have a member of the public, digging through pages and pages and pages to find it.
And posted in two public
And posted in two public places, as we typically do anyway. So the website now substitutes for the newspaper.
That's what I did for the noticing of today's public.
You know what, now that you say that, I think I remember telling us that you were doing that.
Yeah.
So, and as I said, the zoning board of adjustment, according to the current RSA, still is required to do the newspaper. But assuming that the legislation passes, they will be on the same, they'll have the same opportunity to use the website as the other boards.
So where are the two public places we're posting now? The town website and where else?
Well, the town website is one, and then there are two additional.
I posted at the post office on the bulletin board and the town hall bulletin board as well,
Gotcha.
downstairs, as well as on the website.
Would it be, excuse me, would it be possible to get the Eagle Tribune to take the place of the Carriagetown News? Because they seem to be a parent company. They cover Lawrence, they cover just about southern New Hampshire.
Well, it won't, it doesn't work, Stanley, because the standard that the law called for was a newspaper of general circulation, meaning that everyone had access to it. And unless you subscribe, and it doesn't get, even if you subscribe, it still doesn't necessarily get to everybody. So if a board now wanted to use a newspaper of general circulation, probably would be the union leader, would be the default.
But legally, we don't have to do that. The website takes the... Thank you, Adam. Legally, we don't have to do that. The website is taking the place of it.
Yep.
So we could if we wanted to, I guess, but not necessarily.
Okay, two quick things. Well, hopefully quick. The new building inspector / code enforcement officer is on board. He's into his third week now, and he's jumped right in with both feet. He's coordinating the building office downstairs. His very first task was to respond to a backlog of, I believe, 150 voicemails on the phone that had not been responded to or had been in some stage of being responded to. So that has been cleaned up now, and everyone's been responded to, and he's getting all the building permits up to date and reaching out to people who need to get renewals or whatever done for them. He's also dealt with several code enforcement issues now, some challenging ones for him. So anyway, he's got a really good attitude about it. He's doing a good job, and we're pleased and hope that it continues. His name is Pedro Avila, A-V-I-L-A. He lives in Concord, so he commutes from Concord to here. He has experience as a building inspector and a code enforcement officer in a couple of towns in Rhode Island, 4 years in the city of Concord, and a short stint in Alton, New Hampshire, before coming here.
Is he full-time here?
He is full-time. He works Monday through Friday. He's in the office for people to, and this is, I haven't checked the website, but I was told that it's on the website that states what his hours are. He's there for people to see him in the morning, first thing, so, 7 to 9 or until 9 or 9:30. Then he uses the middle of the day to go out and do inspections and do visits with clients. And then he comes back to the office sort of mid-afternoon, finishes out his day in the office. So he sort of bookends his day with office time and uses the middle part to be out and about. So far so good, and the select board is pleased so far and hope that it continues.
Did you have one other thing? You said
I did.
Okay,
At least one other.
all right.
I know, Susan.
No, it's fine.
And of course, Dan's interested in this, but the general public is interested in it as well, and because most of this issue is in the HDC, we're all interested in it. And that's the status of the water treatment systems for those homes that are affected by the PFAS chemicals. We had a meeting with the company that we have been working with to structure the request for proposal, because we're redoing this now based on the fact that things weren't done right the first time when we did the RFP. So we have a new firm working on that, and we had the draft was done. We had a meeting with the Department of Environmental Services, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, which is the funding agency for this grant. They reviewed the draft. They had a number of questions and comments on it, and so we all got 2 of us from the town, 4 people from the engineering firm that's doing the RFP, and 2 folks from DES. We spent an hour and a half on the phone, got a bunch of stuff sorted out, and within a week, that RFP should be ready to be sent out and released on the street. So that's where we are with that. There was, in the most recent round of sampling, there was 1 additional property that now has exceeded the PFAS limits, and so that property will be added to our list, and they will be included in the remediation plan, and they will be on the list to get a treatment system. It'll be covered by the grant. We have enough in the grant to do that, so. Okay.
Excellent, thank you. We do not have a planning board rep tonight, so we will skip to the Heritage Commission, which is me. Only a couple of, maybe just one thing. The Heritage Commission sent out a letter to each of the owners of a historic home in Kingston, whether they're in a historic district or not. So you probably everyone got one here, right? Except maybe Stanley didn't get one?
I
You have a
received it,
historic?
yes.
All right. So I brought a copy in case somebody wanted to see one, but you've all got one at your house. So, not really on that same note, but for later on, there's a little, I have a little letter that I started writing because Virginia and I were thinking that it would be a good thing for the Historic District Commission to communicate with owners in Historic Districts 1 and 2, but we didn't want to put it in with the Heritage Commission letter. We thought we'd do a separate mailing after the election and everything was done. So I brought a copy that we can work on later on for that, okay?
Can I keep this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. So I think that was all from the Heritage Commission. That's that. So we have a public hearing this evening. And this is only my second public hearing, so it's probably not going to be done really well, but bear with me, please. I think that it's time to call the public hearing to order. Yes? Okay. So we shall call a public hearing to order at 7:16 p.m. Welcome to the public. Welcome. Public? No. No, he's sorry. So this evening, the board will be reviewing and voting on proposed changes to HDC rules and regulations. There's a sign-up sheet over there if the public would like to sign up and speak either in favor or against the changes that we will be proposing. We will be doing, going by this item by item, okay? I liked the way that Lynn Merrill did it in the planning board, where she just did public hearing, open for public comment per item. Yep. So we're gonna do that, so.
Do you want to start with 1202 since that's only one thing?
Yes, sure.
Then when it's done.
So what I will do is read it now. Let's see. The proposed changes. We're proposing the changes after we had the joint meeting with the planning board in October of 2023. The proposed word changes are in red, okay, as you're reading it. And then so Madeline, you're the one that typed these up. The crossed off, the red and crossed off is what, the original language?
Right, so whatever's
Okay.
crossed off is what's there today.
Okay.
So, yes, whatever is crossed off is what's there today, and then in red is what we're voting on tonight to add.
Okay. So, shall I read the whole thing, everything? I mean, one at a time, just read it and we'll just vote on it? Okay. Historic District Commission, Article 1202, Rules of Procedure. 1202.5, Applications for Certificates of Approval. Section B, the Commission shall not accept applications improperly completed. No application shall be deemed filed until accepted, and the old wording is by the Commission. What we're proposing is to scratch by the Commission and substitute as complete. And then the rest of it is unchanged. Filed applications shall be considered at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Owners are encouraged to be present when their applications are considered. Does that make sense when I read it like that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have, so now I will open it, for the discussion here. All right. So any discussion on this?
So we needed to change that because we talked about complete, and now complete includes a check by the
Applicant.
town planner. Thank you.
Gotcha.
The town planner has to
Yes.
do the compliance or not. So that went beyond us as a commission, so now we call that complete when that signature is there.
Right, yes, so it goes, the application is brought to the town hall, it goes to the town planner for approval, and then it comes to the Historic District Commission for
Yes.
review. Okay,
So I think that makes sense.
yes, more clear. Any more discussion on this? No? Okay, so now I will open it to the public. Does the public have anything to say? The public is putting a thumbs up. So now we close public comment, and we will vote on this. Okay. All in favor of change, what?
I think you need a motion.
Well,
Oh, I need a motion for
I'm
each
going to make
one
a
of
motion
Okay,
to adopt the change as the chair read it.
Second?
motion's made in second. Do I have to ask for more comment or not? No?
Oh,
Okay.
well, yeah, further discussion from the board,
Further
sure.
discussion? Okay. Do we have any further discussion? So we do not have further discussion. All in favor of the change?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. It's unanimous. Thank you. That's done. All right, taking notes, so hopefully I'll.
That was the easy one.
That was the easy one. All right, moving right along. This is for changes to the regulations.
1201.
Article 1201. All right, so change number 1. 1201.9, districts. A, Historic District 1, herein after called Main Street Historic District. On March 7th, 1972, the town voted to establish the Main Street Historic District. See Article 102.5.A.1 of the Kingston zoning and building codes. So I'm not really sure how I should read this. Do you know what I mean? Should I read it the way that it used to be, or just read it with the new wording?
So maybe it's best to describe what the intent of this is. What you just read is referring someone who's reading the book to go to another section to get a description of the district. And that's fine, but I think the intent was to now replicate that description here as well, just in case someone is looking at the regs and not in the ordinance part.
So it makes it easier for the reader or the homeowner to find
The description of the district. And
Okay.
so, If we adopt this change, it means that this description will appear in 2 places in our book, but it's just for the purpose of making it easier for the reader.
Correct. Okay,
And so you're going to scratch,
We're
the
gonna scratch.
proposal is to scratch what you were reading, and then it says the description of this district.
Right.
That gets,
yeah.
yeah.
So instead of the description of this district, we're going to replace that with the following. A list of uses permitted in a manner not inconsistent with the character of the district. Description. Historic District 1 is an integrated area of mixed uses, being predominantly residential with small retail businesses for convenience shopping. The area also contains a variety of public buildings serving religious and civic functions, dining facilities, customary home occupations, traditional home arts and crafts, gardening, domestic animal raising, and service professions. The area is characterized from its general appearance along the plains as typical of a small New England village containing many fine examples of colonial architecture as well as a mix of other architectural types. And then we go to B, Historic District 2, hereinafter called Little River Historic District. The way that the regulation reads now is this. The Little River Historic District was voted by the town on March 2nd, 1976. See Article 102, and we're adding .5.b of the Kingston Zoning and Building Code for the description of this district. We propose to scratch the words, the description of this district, and insert the following words. A list of uses permitted in a manner not inconsistent with the character of the district. Description. Historic District 2 is a residential area containing some fine old homes. It is a cluster community built around 2 old mill sites.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Are we in discussion about
Yes,
this?
we are now in discussion.
Okay. In the heading of B, it's, oh, I'm sorry, it says Historic District 2, but then it says hereinafter called Little River Historic District.
Yes.
And that's the way it currently reads.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like up above in A, it says here and after called Main Street Historic
Oh,
District.
got it. Okay.
So they each have their own little nickname,
Okay, thank you.
and that's the way it's written already in there.
It wasn't clear about the domestic animals or,
Oh, his thing is on, yeah. So what wasn't clear about the domestic animals?
or what you read.
Domestic animals. Oh, domestic animal raising and service professions.
So this is already in our ordinances today, and we just lifted it and set it. Darn it. Got it. That is already in our ordinances today, and we just lifted it up and added it here so that instead of sending people over to see our ordinances, it's right here, so they can just read through it, and if they want to go and look at that too, it will say the same thing, but they can pretty much go down our regulations and see what's allowed. So we haven't added anything, this was already there. So we weren't changing it.
We weren't changing the wording of of the description.
We're just taking it.
Moving it and putting it somewhere else.
Yeah,
So that reflects the ordinance?
yes.
Yes.
So this is what our ordinance says, and we just put it into our regulations.
So we've duplicated it?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions or discussion? We'll now open for public comment. Does the public have anything to say?
Scott Roulette, 189 Main Street, and I'll sign in. So I think this is a good idea for some of the reasons that, like Glenn said, even though it's a duplicate, it puts the language right in front of the reader, so it's easier to connect to. And it also, we heard from the town council about ordinance versus regulation, so I think this protects the board, no matter how that falls out, by having it in 2 places. It protects the board by having the protective language in 2 places, however that turns out. So I think this is a good idea.
Thank you.
I think that was one of the things that town council had commented about as we were engaged with all kinds of discussions, excuse me, with town council was the confusion of things or how an applicant had to search around. So what Scott is saying, I agree with. Having it here in two places makes it easier for the applicant to understand.
I agree. If there's no more public comment, we'll close the public comments, and any more discussion on the board?
Are you ready?
Sure, I'm ready, yep, I'm ready.
I will then make a motion to adopt the changes as described and read by the chair for section 1201.9 districts in the regulation section of our book.
I second the motion.
Seconded by Virginia. All in favor? Aye. Nobody opposed? Did you vote aye, Stanley?
Aye,
Okay,
yes.
good, thank you. Moving on to change number 2. Oh boy, let's read this whole thing.
This one has a, just a random typo in the middle, if you wanna
Okay.
just say I'm removing this weird title
think
that's
that-
there, because it's strange how it's stuck in the middle of a sentence and it doesn't go to anything, so I
Okay.
think it's a typo.
Yes, so that's in the section, mostly halfway down the page, more than halfway down the
Yeah.
page. And it says, Title III Rules and Regulations, and you're right, it's stuck in the middle of a sentence, so
And it
we're
doesn't-
just,
yeah,
we're
it
just
doesn't go
proposing to remove that typo.
And that's in section 1201.10.
Yes,
B, design considerations, new buildings and structures.
correct, yes. Any other discussion on this? Shall we open to public comment? Public comment, positive. Closing public comment. Do you have no more discussion?
So we're removing the words Title 3, Rules and Regulations.
Correct.
That's just that one small phrase.
Yes. Yep, and we're not adding anything in.
Okay, all set.
Okay.
Oh, I'll let you do it, you're just such a
Okay, so I will make a motion to adopt the change as read by the chair, which is removing those small extraneous words that apparently are a typo in section 1201.10B1.
Thank you, Glenn.
Second.
Second by Madeline. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nobody opposed? Thank you. Oof.
Here's the big one.
Here's a big one. Change number 3. 1201.10, design considerations. B, other considerations. No, added number list to the section. So we're adding a number list to the section to keep the existing subjects 1 through 4 separated and adding new subjects 5 through 8. Okay, so 1, siding materials. Synthetic siding materials shall not be used to cover or replace existing architectural features. That's already in the regulations. We're just adding the words, the title, siding materials. We're adding a title to number 2. The title is energy conserving features. Do you want me to read that whole paragraph or not? No?
No.
Okay. We're not changing any of that wording.
No.
Number 3, adding the title fences. Currently, the regulations say fencing will be considered on individual merits. We propose to add the words, style should match the era of the structure. Number 4, adding the title landscape features. Currently, the regulations say other landscape features will be considered on individual merits. We are proposing to add the words, these may include pergolas, stone walls, etc. Now, number 5,
This is new.
this is all new. 5, sheds and outbuildings. These structures will be considered on individual merits. Among other details, style, size, and lot placement will be reviewed for compatibility, consistency with the main structure or structures. Number 6. Again, this is all new words. Fire codes. Fire codes are important and need to be considered in the design for new and existing structures. Fire escapes and egress windows are preferred to be in the back of the building and be as inconspicuous as possible. Incorporating them into the interior design is preferred. Number 7, accessibility. ADA accommodations, such as ramps and lifts, should be designed to be as inconspicuous as possible by matching structural and design elements of the existing building. Number 8, septic systems. When replacing a failed system or installing a new system, venting pipes will need to be concealed by landscaping or design elements that will function in all seasons, i.e. faux rocks, faux granite posts, fencing, etc. Any discussion?
Well, I have a question. We did a lot of work with the planning board on other parts of our rules and regulations. Did we just discuss any design considerations with the planning board, or is this all work we did ourselves?
I think this is work that we did ourselves,
But-
because we didn't change the ordinances.
We did not change the ordinances, correct?
Yeah.
So these are things that we worked out together. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this before we open it to public comment? Public comment is now, no public
I'm
comment.
not quite done.
Oh, you're not done? Oh, all right.
No, I just thought of
Virginia's
something
got
more.
more.
So I think that one of the things we were looking for, as we did ordinances with planning board, but as we looked about completeness, that we felt these issues had come up and we weren't clear about them when an applicant wanted a fence or a shed or whatever. And I feel that this is very protective and informative for the applicant, so they know what we're expecting. So that I'll do septic systems. Oh, we've got a new house, all of a sudden, we look at everything and we love it, and we look, and by some unfortunate design, the septic system vent pipe has to be on the front lawn. Oh, we wish we'd taken care of that. It's too late to say you have to. And a lot of people have made a cover-up of some sort, some of them very clever. But this tells them, and us, this needs to be part of what we look at when there's an application. So I think these are really helpful to us and helpful to the applicant.
I agree.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you say fire coding and septic systems, is that really in our jurisdiction?
As far as the design, yes. As far as
The
the
visual.
appearance, the visual appearance of the property, yes.
But most septic systems are in back of the house
Not necessarily.
where the kitchen is, so forth. But if it's in the front of the house, who would be the authority to, because it has to work in a certain way.
So
we're
Stanley, what
not-
I was just saying was, if by some design of the property, the septic system needed to be in the front of the house, what we would like to tell the applicant is that vent pipe needs to be covered up as best you could.
Oh, it's a vent
somewhere.
pipe.
So it has nothing to do with the design of the septic system, but if the placement is visible from the road or interferes with the appearance of the property, do something about it. Put a fake stone over it. Yours and my neighbors and Maddie's neighbors on the corner there made it look like an old-fashioned hand water pump and covered up that pipe. That's our goal, is not to just let a freestanding, ugly vent pipe stick up in the middle of the property. So it has nothing to do with the design of the septic system, and the same with fire code. If you have to put the egress somewhere visible, okay, but try not to for an exit for fire. That's all it's about, it's visual.
How does a
But what
raised,
if there's a hardship and they can't do it? I mean, the applicant has a hardship doing just that, and most likely would have to be in the front of the house. Could there be a compromise or something of that sort? Or how strict would that be?
Well, Stanley, you know, we're always happy to work with the homeowners and try to be creative about their design, you know, to give helpful hints,
Okay.
suggestions, stuff like that. Am I answering this question correctly?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, we would work with the homeowner.
That shouldn't be an expensive proposition for the homeowner to camouflage that.
I see what you mean.
But if fire code and the design of the building says the egress or the fire escape has to be here, design it in the best you can, but there's nothing we can do about it. We can't prevent a change in that.
does a raised septic field fall into this?
I'm sorry?
A raised septic field?
We've had people with raised septic fields. I don't think there's anything that we can really do about that. I don't think we can.
No, I don't think there's anything that we can mandate. I mean, the best we can do is if we see a design when someone comes to us, is ask them, is there any way that, especially if it's going to be prominent, like in front of the house or visible from Main Street, ask them if there's anything that could be done to help perhaps soften the visual appearance by maybe some landscaping or,
Yeah.
and we went through a big discussion about this with the All-American Assisted Living, because those huge raised fields right off Main Street. I don't think there was any real good answer to camouflaging them, but there at least are some trees planted between Main Street and the fields, and as those trees grow, they will, you know, provide some.
But is that something the HDC has input in, or not?
I would say we, as Glenn said, we can't mandate anything like that, but we can offer suggestions
So-
as far as disguising or camouflaging.
How do wellheads fall into this then?
I'm sorry?
How do wellheads fall into this?
I would say the same thing, although wellheads
but it's
don't
not
usually
in
stick
here.
up this high, you know?
Well, they don't, but they have to be a minimum of 12 inches above the ground.
Right.
For code.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean.
But I
we would-
mean, that's not spelled out in here at all.
Wellheads, yeah.
Next year. I don't mean to be a wise guy, but those are the things that are important to consider. Okay, we haven't talked about, we're talking about vents for septic systems, maybe we should talk about wellheads. So our wellhead sticks up, you can't see it from the road, but we still camouflaged it with euonymus, which doesn't have deep roots.
Yeah.
And so you can't see it. And you don't want to plant something that's going down into your well, but.
Right, and the same on your septic, you don't want to
Yeah,
plant anything
right,
on your septic
right.
like that, so.
So maybe
It's a good point.
put wellheads.
Yeah, I just want to make
there
sure
and
we're not singling out one thing and kind of
Right,
pounding it. you
yeah.
know?
It's never come up, actually.
Yeah, so these are things that have come up, so we're adding it. These were things that, in black, we've been discussing a lot. These were, the things in black were things that we've been discussing throughout applications forever. And just recently, we've had more things come up, so we were adding them in. So when people look at our regulations when they have their own projects, they can say, oh yeah, I'm doing a septic. Oh, I should look at that. Or I should consider that when they're doing a project and they're coming to us. But it's not that we are already discussing this already with people, but this puts it right in front of them to say, if you've got this issue, you should be considering how are you going to disguise something.
Maddie, did you mean the things in red? You
The
said-
things in red.
you said
The
the
black
things in
things,
black.
we've
Oh, I
already.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, so the
Yes.
black things were already in our regulations and have been discussed forever. And we've discussed the things in red, and we do have jurisdiction. I mean, we have jurisdiction over more stuff, but this just really puts it out there. We were trying to make it easier for applicants.
So maybe we put wellheads on for next year.
But I mean, as far as the process goes, if someone fills out an application for a septic field, and help me out here, because I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
It goes to the planning board first, I'm assuming, and then to building, or for approval then, or?
I don't think it would go to planning board unless it was, unless it were involved with something that they have jurisdiction over, such as a subdivision or an accessory dwelling unit, or,
So replacement of a septic field doesn't go to the planning board?
no.
Where does that go then, originally? The zoning?
Here, for its visual,
But it wouldn't start here though, would it?
no, it would probably start with, well, obviously, it would start with the state DES that would have to approve a septic design.
Yeah, but the state's not gonna mandate that, it comes
No,
here.
no, no, and then the town's health officer is involved in that, because the homeowner has to apply for a permit
Right.
for that, and that triggers inspections and so forth by the building department, which in this case would be the health officer probably.
So does
And
the
then that
health
would-
officer know then it has to come to us also? Is that spelled out anywhere?
I don't know.
I don't think it is, actually.
Would it go to the building inspector for a septic, or just health?
I'm not sure.
I guess I'm just trying to protect the citizen here as far as, hey, you know, well, I didn't know I was supposed to go in front of the Historic District Commission on this.
The last one that I can remember that came here was made apparent to us because it was part of a bunch of different work that was being done. It was 191 Main Street where they were doing replacement of windows and some other things, and they, at that time, said, oh, and by the way, we need to replace our septic system. And
But that was something they voluntarily told us though, correct?
Right.
There was not,
Yeah,
there was no
they
trigger
vol-
mechanism
Yeah.
to get it here though.
no.
And same thing with
It
the
might
well.
just be
So
a matter,
someone
it might
pulled-
just be a matter of, informing the people in the health inspector's office that if a plan is brought forward for a new leach field in the historic district, that it should come to us as well for design.
Well, it's gonna increase our workload,
Not
obviously,
design,
for
not
every
design,
septic.
I'm sorry, for just the appearance of it. I don't want to say septic design, because we don't have any jurisdiction on that. But the appearance of the project would have to come before us.
So I think one of the things that has been lacking is coordination amongst the different departments. And here's another case of where.
Communication.
A communication. Who is the health officer?
The health officer is Mike Dorman, and I believe that our building inspector is the deputy health officer.
Okay.
I think that's the way that we've structured it.
So does that individual then know that whenever a septic system is new or replaced in the historic districts, or for that matter, even a well, does it come to us now, or?
I don't think so. It looks like something we need to take care of. To connect with both the health officer and, again,
So I guess my question is, how do you hold these people responsible if they don't do this?
Well, we'll just go down and talk with them. That's all. I have a meeting tomorrow with the building inspector. I can mention it to him.
Good.
Just say, this is one of the issues that's come up. So I can meet with him tomorrow and talk with him about it. Stuff always comes up,
Oh, no, I
These are
understand. I
things
just
that
wanna-
we just are honing, every single time something happens that we're like, oh, we've never dealt with this before. Now we need to, wrap our brains around that.
So another question is are we ready and prepared to put this in there as a change at this point without having a clear line where citizens would follow to get to this point? Does that make sense when I'm?
It does.
Or is that something we strike from it now and then get our stuff together for next year and add wells and all this into it?
I would say we do this already today, and we're trying not to blindside anyone, so that if they want to do a project, it's clearly stated to them, because there's so many things, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, other than these things that we've added. I can't think of something. Like the look of your property is the jurisdiction of the historic district. So we're trying to add things that are maybe a trigger that they may not like septic systems. We weren't thinking like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a big candy cane sticking out of everyone's septic before. We've had so many septics come before us, we're like, oh yeah. So we're trying to spell that out to people ahead of time.
Oh, yeah, I
So
agree.
that's all this
understand
is our regulations, so that when they look through the regulations, they'll say, oh yeah, I need to think about what I'm gonna do with that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna see a lot more raised septic fields in the community also though, too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
And that's not really spelled out in here either. I
Under
guess what I'm saying is that,
landscaping,
you know,
yeah.
we're hitting the thing, that, you know, the candy cane in the front yard, and I get that, believe me.
Yep.
But there's more to it than that. There's possibility of a raised septic field, multiple candy canes,
Yeah.
Yep.
wellheads, you know, things like that for the infrastructure of the property that we're not addressing.
So I don't think we would be able to put that in our regulations. What we need to do is to reach out to the health officer and perhaps the building inspector, or in cases where it goes to the planning board, to make sure there's that connection.
Right, and make sure there's a clear path for people to get it to us, or for them as an organization to get it to us. I guess it's just another approval in the process, you know, for people to deal with.
So if you're applying to have a new septic system, then I don't know what that application looks like, but that place might need to add, if you're in the historic district, you need to.
Yeah.
That's the place
Right.
to add it. I think it's safe here. And it's good to have it here, but I think we need to reach back to a health officer to see what the wording is for an application for septic system.
Because is it just, what does the building inspector do today if there's an application or somebody comes in for a project? Do they just off the top of their head know, oh, you're in the historic district, you also need to see them? Is that what they do today?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the building inspector, the current one, is pretty conscientious, and when he gets an application, the first thing he does, he pulls property file and makes sure he gets an understanding of the history of it, what zone they're in, and so forth. Now, I haven't had this conversation with him, so I don't know what the answer is. Does he then, if he sees that it's historic district, does he know that it needs to go to historic district for certain things? That I don't know. You
So
said
that's-
you're gonna be speaking with
I'm
him?
just gonna say, that's what Susan's gonna talk to
Making
him
myself
about
notes
tomorrow.
here, yeah.
Perfect time.
And maybe there should be a list of things that would go to him that, of things that we need to see. I mean,
Right. Things, that- yeah.
I mean, for
And
instance,
he-
when I
and
put
he
the
has
roof on my
questions for us
house,
too, so,
like when I put the new roof on my house,
right.
it held it up for a period of time because it didn't need to come here, but he thought it did. You know, so maybe we need to put a comprehensive list together of things that we need to see, so when he's going down his approvals, oh, this
Yeah,
includes.
that's what
you
we're
know.
talking about tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we can always, if it comes up and if we deem it necessary, we can come back and revisit this next year and add more to it, wellheads, any other things, you know, like you said, raised septics, you know, and have, you know, and have some ideas that we can share with homeowners as far as, you know, a retaining wall or bushes or something that can soften their look. Yes.
So, you said something about coming back next year to make changes. Since these are regulations, you don't have to wait a year, you can do them anytime.
Oh, okay, good.
So,
Okay,
just FYI.
yeah,
It's only ordinances that can only go once a year, and that has to go before the voters. But things that are under the jurisdiction of this board, which regulations are, can be done at any noticed meeting as a public hearing. But I just wanted to read something to you. I was trying to find any wording that might say or point me specifically to things other than buildings and structures, because that's where most of our jurisdiction is. But under 1201.5, jurisdiction and criteria, the very last sentence says, other subjects covered by this ordinance include, but are not limited to, signs, landscape features, fences, street furniture, and other factors affecting the character of the streetscape. So I think that's the catch-all statement that would give this board the opportunity to review things like, you know, anything physical like that that's going to affect the streetscape. You know, if it happens to be a well that's right in the center of the front lawn, or if it's a raised septic system, or if it's vent pipes, or whatever.
I was wondering the same.
Probably
thing.
benches and stuff, I don't know.
Street furniture.
Well, I can think of street furniture on the corner of Church Street and Main Street. There's a lot of street furniture that's been coming up around that piece of property. A swimming pool, a patio with permanent chairs, lights on one side, chairs and things on the other side. I would kind of consider that street furniture, which seems to be growing and growing around that piece of property.
And unfortunately, they're exposed on both sides. They really don't have a backyard.
That's right, that's right. Speaking of hardships, they don't have a backyard. Right, so I'm sort of empathetic, but on the other hand, I don't know.
Okay, let's get back.
I'm not going there right now.
Let's get back to this, change number 3. Have we, it's been so long, have we already asked for public comment on this or not? All right, so we opened public comment and then now we're closing it. Do we have any more discussion on this, or shall we just take it to a vote?
Seeing no discussion, I'll make the motion to adopt the changes as read by the chair and discussed over the last several minutes to section 1201.10, letter E, other considerations.
Second.
I think it
Motion's
should
made
be,
and seconded.
before you second it, I think there should be a phrase that new elements of relevance can be added to it. That's not in it right now.
Well, you don't have to say that in here, because that authority is already in the, somewhere else in the book, that this board can do that at any time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can do it whenever.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, change number 4. How many do we have? 5. Oh, good. Oh, look at that, 5 is nothing. Change number 4, 1201.10, design considerations, H.
This is all new,
Yes,
and it is basically taking section 102.9 and putting it into our regulations. So A through C are already part of 102.9, and then D has been added as well, which is a summary of that.
okay. So A, B, and C are already existing wording in the ordinance.
Right.
Correct, okay, good. So I will read it. H, review guidelines. In considering appropriateness of an application, the commission shall consider, among other things, A, the effect that the exterior facade of the building will have when viewed in relation to the surrounding buildings in the district. B, the change, if any, in the amount of noise, congestion, and traffic that the proposed building or use will create in the district. C, whether the proposal is of a design or of materials or for a purpose or use inconsistent with and detrimental or injurious to buildings and purposes or uses upon adjoining, or uses upon adjoining lands, and whether such proposal is such that it will detract from the character and quiet dignity of the Kingston Historic District. And D, whether the proposal is of a design or of materials or for a purpose or use inconsistent with the overall character of the districts.
So, A through C are already in our ordinances, and D is, because C is talking about how a structure will be viewed based on an adjoining lands, D says if something is like out of character with the entire district. So we're looking at the whole district, so that's what, it's just looking at all of it.
So D is the only new wording.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments on this?
So quickly, A, B, and C already exist within the ordinances, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're just duplicating.
Yes, so it's taking our ordinance and making it available for us to use in our regulations, because
So
our lawyer,
technically, that's not a change then, it's just.
not a change, actually the lawyer suggested that we put that in our regulations, so that's putting it in there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is D part of the ordinance now? Is that one of the ordinance changes?
So D is part of section, hold on a second. It's that list of everything that's allowed in the district. So it's just summarizing that to say that we're looking at the entire district instead of just the adjoining lands.
Okay, so I was curious, A, B, and C are duplicated here from ordinances,
Yes.
and you're saying D exists somewhere?
It exists, but it's just summarized right here. Hold on.
D is a summary.
Where is our list of?
It's just that we like to match the ordinances and the regulations.
Yes.
And also, when we make the motion to do this, do we want to say that A, B, and C already exist within the ordinances? Just for the sake of the record?
Yeah.
Well, it's already been said
Sorry.
as part of the presentation and as part of the discussion, so, I mean, the motion is going to end up being as proposed and discussed, so it's sort of captured that way.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're kind of covering ourselves from a legal standpoint.
As long as we're clear, and I think we have been,
Yeah, we've been pretty clear.
that A through C is existing language in the ordinance, and we're just duplicating it for the ease of the general public when they're in the regulation section, that they see that information there as well.
Instead of having to go look for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Apologize. Perfect.
section 102.5 is a description and permitted uses, so it's saying like what's allowed within the character of the district, so when you go through all of that. So that's why D just says, for purpose or use in, whether the proposal is of design or materials or purpose of use inconsistent with the overall character, because we've already spoken about what the character is in section 102.5, so don't just look at adjoining land, we're looking at, when we look at a proposal that comes into the historic district, we're also looking at the whole district, so it's just everything.
Okay.
The neighboring property and the whole district.
Okay.
You know, and at the end of C, it sort of says that,
Well,
Yeah.
it mentioned the adjoining lands.
but it says such that it, uses upon adjoining lands, and whether such proposal is such that it will detract from the character and quiet dignity of the historic district.
Yeah, of the entire
Yeah.
historic district, yeah.
I think I mean, adding D doesn't change anything, it just, I think, just further clarifies and
Yeah.
makes a stronger point about it.
Right.
No, I don't have any
You
more
don't have any
comments.
more? Okay. Shall we open it? Oh, the public wants to speak. Opening to public comment.
So I was tracking this one very carefully. A, B, and C are already in the ordinance today. D is going to be on the ballot here in a month. So we asked the planning board to put D as one of the changes that's going on. So at the end, assuming it passes, then A, B, C, D will be in the ordinance, and now A, B, C, D will be in the regulation, then they will
Oh, it will match.
match exactly.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
He has a better memory than I do.
Okay, we're gonna close public comment now. We ready for a vote, or do we want to discuss this more?
Then I will make the motion to adopt the change as proposed and discussed for section 1201.10, design considerations, section H, review guidelines.
Second.
Seconded by Madeline. All in favor? Oh,
Do we have to
discussion.
state, though, if it doesn't pass with the voters, that,
No,
I'm sorry.
the addition of D, the words in D,
Right.
can appear in the regulations even if for some reason it does not pass for the ordinance. As long as this board feels that the addition of that wording is appropriate for this section, it can propose it. So it's okay.
Okay.
So the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Thank you. We're gonna move on to change number 5, the final change.
This one's tough.
This one's easy. 1201 colon, is that a colon or semicolon? Oh, fees. I won't read the whole thing because what we're proposing is just, let's see. Shall I just read it anyway? A minimum fee will be paid to the Town of Kingston Historic District Commission at the submission, this is all existing language, at the submission of an application for review prior to the application being accepted for consideration. The fee structure is available on the town's website and in the office of the selectmen and includes 1, remodeling of existing residential building, 2, remodeling of existing non-residential building, 3, new residential building, 4, new non-residential building, 5, new or remodeling of existing accessory building, A, up to 200 square feet, B, 201 plus square feet. 6, change of use, confirmation of use. 7, signs and fences. 8, roof solar panels. 9, ground mount solar panels, wind turbine. 10, demolition. We propose to add 11, sheds and outbuildings. That's the only change, sheds and outbuildings. Yes, sir.
All right, so now I have a question on that,
Okay.
just because the rules, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But under the new rules, if a shed's under a certain size now,
Yeah.
a permit or anything from the town doesn't need to take place, correct?
So they don't need permits throughout the town, but in the historic district, if you add something to your property, you still need to come before us.
And we're
Because
gonna collect
it's
a fee
considered a
for that?
structure. It is considered a structure.
Yeah.
So if a shed's below that size, and I forget what it was, you remember what that was?
160 square feet, I think.
So if it's under that, are we still gonna collect a fee?
It still has to come before the HDC
Well, no, I
for
understand.
design.
So the fee, I shouldn't say supposedly, the fee is for administrative pieces to the application. That's what the fee is all about. So we have to have a meeting, we have to have a write-up, we have to send the information to the building inspector, we send the information to the applicant, and so we have a fee for those.
But the building inspector doesn't
No.
care if it's under a certain.
No, there's a difference between the fee for an application before this board and the fee that would come if they needed a building permit. If they don't need a building permit, they don't apply for one and they don't pay that fee. But
But we're gonna hit them for a fee though.
yeah, for our administrative processing, yes.
So that's what I meant when I said to the building inspector. So when I do an application, I make a lot of copies. One to the applicant, one for this board, one to the building inspector, et cetera. And so that's all part of the process fee.
But if the building is under the new limit, 160 square, whatever it is, then it doesn't need a building permit, and obviously it wouldn't be paying that fee for a permit.
But if it's under the 160 square feet or whatever it is, the citizen doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to notify the town or anything at this point. They can just construct.
Except if you're in the historic district. Except if you're.
If it's in the historic district.
Uh-oh. No, he's, yeah,
Mine was too.
you have to
If
talk
it's in the
louder.
historic district,
Yeah.
it has to appear in front of us for approval as far as design goes, but we're gonna hit them up.
And
with
placement.
Placement.
And placement, yeah.
Just the
I
same as
just feel
any
like
fence
we're
or
hitting
anything.
citizens coming and going. I mean, here we're waiving fees for sheds on the building permit side,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now it's gotta come in front of us and we're gonna hit them for a fee. I mean, it's like, we're nickel and diming our people to death. And I'm just wondering if something like that comes before us, a shed below the 160 square feet, if we just waive the fee and say, hey, it looks good, go for it, you know?
Well, our board can waive any fees we want to as they come in. We have the luxury of doing that, right? We can waive anything. Because I kind of agree with you that I don't think that the historic, people that live in the historic district should come in and have to be penalized for having an older house and having to do all this stuff anyway, like now we're gonna hit you with more fees too.
Right.
We should like waive all that stuff unless it's like really intensive and there's a lot of stuff, but I feel like we should waive a lot of stuff.
Keeping in mind that the fees also partially cover the fact that we're paying salary to Adam and to Sarah. You know, these things are,
No,
you know.
I fully
Yeah.
understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you're penalizing people for living in the
Right.
historic district.
Yeah,
For a simple shed fee that they're not paying anyways with the town.
yeah.
And I don't know if that has to be spelled out in here, or if that is something we can just waive at our meetings, or, but it's gotta go in front of all of us, and it has to be a majority.
A majority would have to agree to do it.
And we have not set that fee. We can set the fee at $1. We haven't set the fee.
Easily set it for $10 or something like that, you know.
Well, I was being
Yeah, I
extreme,
know.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a big fee, and we talked about that. That's why the remodeling is for a certain size or a certain size. Well, just an idea,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
but
So that's something we don't need to take up here and now in this.
The fee, no.
No.
And we could, you know, we could easily implement, you know, keeping it in line with the size of the shed that doesn't require a building permit, the 160 square feet, or if it's a bigger shed, you know, it will have, so a $5 or a $15, whatever, you know, depending on what size the shed is. We could do that in the structure.
Just a suggestion, if, and I agree, it doesn't belong here, and it shouldn't preclude us from implementing this change. But if we're gonna be discussing changing fees, perhaps, we probably ought to do that as a notice item on an agenda, so that the public would know that we're doing that, and if they wish to attend or comment, they'd have that opportunity.
Okay.
Good idea.
No,
it's
not at
all
all.
important
It's good.
stuff. We need to
That's
talk
right.
about it. Otherwise, we run up against it, and
Yeah.
then, whoa, we haven't talked about that before.
No.
No,
But
not
I
at
think
all.
it's good to, to have it on this list so that people know, like, hey, I thought we didn't have to do sheds, and here it is on their list, so maybe we do have to do something with sheds. So that they don't come in and plunk down a shed on the front lawn and be like, I'm done. I didn't need a permit, so.
Right.
I like that. Yep. All right. Shall we open public comment? Have we done that yet for this? Public doesn't want to speak. Closing public comment. Shall we take a vote? Glenn, you want to do something?
Sure. I'll then make the motion to adopt the one change to section 1201.12 fees, to add item 11, sheds and outbuildings, to the list of those things requiring a permit from the HDC.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you. If the public has nothing more to say, we shall close the public hearing. Perfect. So I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:13. I'm going to close the public hearing section. We're going to continue with our meeting, okay? At 8:13 p.m.
Thank you, Glenn, for all that.
Thank you.
Yes,
work.
thank you.
All right, we're going to go onwards to critical correspondence. Now, I have a couple of things. I was contacted by somebody from the church on the Plains, and it was an after-the-fact roof repair. Apparently they had a leaking problem, and they replaced approximately 1/3 of their roof with the same exact shingles that were there and matching the rest of them. They had done some new shingles earlier, apparently. And so I explained to her that, yes, it probably would have been, you know, a good thing to come and talk about it with the HDC. But it was considered, in my opinion, a repair. So as long as they did an in-kind repair, I told her she doesn't need to come before us. I did tell her that she does need to go and get a building permit, because the building inspector needs to know what, you know, all the details about where if they had a dumpster, everything. So I also spoke with the building inspector and told him that I had spoken with this woman and that we were all set as far as the HDC is concerned, and that I did recommend to her that I pointed her to come back to the building inspector. So that's done.
So can I make a comment there?
Yes.
Susan, I had this agreement with Robert Stewart, and we're starting to with our other building inspectors, that when they got a building permit for, let's say, a new roof in the historic district, and it appeared to be the same, he would still make a call to me,
Yeah.
and we would confirm, okay, still asphalt, still same color, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then that kind of checked that box off.
Right, yeah. And I asked her all those pertinent questions. You didn't touch any of the soffits, you didn't replace
Right,
any,
right, those
all of
kinds of
those
things,
things.
yes.
Nothing like that was done, just shingle replacement. And so I am meeting with the building inspector tomorrow to go over these kind of things, make sure that we're all on the same page. So that's that. That was the only critical correspondence that I had. I also have a note to remind us that the certified local government liaison woman is going to be coming on the 28th of March at 6:30, so keep that on your calendar. I'm pretty sure that will be at the library, because that's the regular Heritage Commission meeting.
March 20th?
March 28th, 6:30 p.m. The next thing that I have is that letter to homeowners that I need help with. If you want to pull out that letter. Did I give you one too, Sarah? Yeah, okay. And you have one too? This is a letter that I sort of started. It's not very warm and fuzzy because that's who I am. So, sorry. So I could use some input on this.
Okay.
I would like to keep it to about a page. I don't want it to be really long, especially where these people, everyone that's gotten one of the Heritage Commission letters will be receiving one of these.
Okay.
Will have already, everyone that receives one of ours has already received a Heritage Commission one.
Yep.
Okay. So it doesn't need to say everything that they said, it just needs to have a little bit more emphasis on being in the historic district.
Right.
Yeah.
Virginia? My memory isn't as good as it sometimes used to be.
As long as he didn't say it isn't as good as mine. Yes.
Back many years, did we do a mailing to,
We did.
might I have a copy of that, do you think?
Yes, and
I was gonna say, if that still exists and if I can find it, I can provide it to you, and
That'd be great.
maybe that would be a, something to also use and to work with. And
Right, yes, yeah. So this is a work in progress, and I will take any input and help that I can get on this.
Do we want to add that sheds certificates of
that's-
approval? Do we want to add that
That's the newsletter.
to clarify?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. As part of this letter? Because we did take something off the ordinance to be voted on. We wanted to put in that little statement saying, unless you're in the historic district, and then you need to still come before us. We're like, wait, we don't need to vote on that. That's already something we do, but we could include it in our letter, that.
I'm sorry, I was sidetracked looking. What was the beginning of what you said, Maddie?
To add that to this letter, that sheds still need to come before us, somehow incorporate that, because of that, the last citizen petition that got voted on last
I
year.
think that would be an important part to
Somehow
add to
incorporate
it.
that.
So,
Glenn, I think, I'm almost positive that you wrote that, Glenn, and so if you're,
Maybe
I'm-
we add
Susan.
including sheds. on the-
Susan, I'll check my files.
okay,
And if I can find it, I'll send it to you.
okay, great. That's good.
So you've got here, you have here, certificates of approval are required for any work done on the exterior of buildings or structures located or to be located in the historic district. We could say including sheds. And then it's out there.
Sheds and
Just
outbuildings.
something, yeah.
Is this letter then you're gonna send, just this letter and that's it?
Say that again a little bit louder, please.
So this letter is what you're gonna send to the people in the historic districts then?
Just property owners in historic districts 1 and 2.
Just a matter of my opinion?
Uh-huh.
If I got this letter, I'd be like, what am I doing wrong?
Right,
Why
yeah,
screw
so
up?
like I said,
It needs warm and
I need a
fuzzies.
lot of help
Yeah.
with the warm and fuzzy thing, so,
Okay.
yeah, I know, it's not, it
'Cause
looks like
I'd
a
start
notice.
thinking, what am I targeted now? or what?
Yeah, I mean, you could just write, dear owners of property, I don't know, you know,
Yes.
so we just need to help, I need help with this.
Susan, you're just the fax man.
I am. Just the facts.
that's the facts. Well, I
That's
think
right.
it covers the facts very nicely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we can
We need to wrap it up,
wrap it up a little.
and with a bow.
Yep, that's fine.
There you go.
Oh, big bow.
So, I mean, starting with the heading, if you wanna do it right now, let's do it, you know.
But if Glenn
If
has
Glenn
one,
has it, then, all right.
If
And we
I,
can do
if
this,
I,
and we can do this next month, I mean, we can send it out and we can work on it and bring our ideas
Yeah, let's do it next month because one just went out, so let's get
Yes,
some time
yep.
quickly and we can come up with some.
and
one-
I'll check tonight when I get home,
Okay.
because I've got work to do tonight, so I will check that.
Okay,
And I'll know quickly if I can find it. If I can't, I'll let you know.
Okay.
If I can, I'll send it to you.
all right, perfect. And then I'll distribute it out and, by email, and then we can come up with some ideas and some wording and maybe craft a letter next month at the meeting. Does that sound like a good plan?
We should like thank everyone for being such
Right.
good stewards and,
Yep.
you know, like the warm and fuzzies. And being proud of,
Yes,
yeah,
and taking
exactly,
pride
so
in-
we should,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely,
add
all that
part.
stuff needs to be included in there, so, yeah.
that you'll come to us and the subject matter will be warm and fuzzy letter to
That's right.
historic district.
I'll put that on the agenda. All right, so that is the end of that. And I don't have, let me look. I don't have anything else on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything that?
Well, I have some
we
good
discussed?
news.
Okay.
I met a lady whose name is Susan DeHart, who would like to be on our commission. And I said, you mean Heritage Commission or Historic District? So we did have a discussion about the difference between the two. She said Historic District Commission. I gave her the process. She's out of town right now, maybe in the south or on a vacation or something. But she said when she came back, she would be writing a letter to the selectmen and says that she knows you. Susan DeHart?
She does. I know she and her husband, Skip. I met them through them stopping by my place one year for discussing trees and such, and have had contact with them, you know, over the years ever since. And they live in King's Landing on Marshall Road,
Okay.
the fairly new development there. But I know that she has an interest in things like this, things that we do here. So I think that would be, if she's interested, I think she'd be a good addition to the
She
board.
said when she came back, and I told her the letter could be simple
Yeah.
to the selectmen because it was the selectmen's decision. So it was good news.
Good for you. Good for us. All right, if we don't have anything else, then I think that we can be done, okay? So we're gonna, yes?
One point of clarification, just
Yes.
so that I remember it correctly when it comes to the board, the select board. We have a vacancy, do we not, for a full-time position?
Here?
Yeah.
Oh, she sent me something. Somebody, was it you that's up in 2023?
Well,
No, it's me. Oh. I have to just go get sworn back in again, don't I? Or do I need to get permission from the selectmen to be?
you should also send a letter to the select board
Okay.
asking to be reappointed.
All right.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
And Rob,
7. So we don't have,
so she'll be an alternate?
so it would be an alternate,
Okay,
That's correct.
so the new woman would be
She
an
would
alternate.
be an alternate.
yes.
I was
And
pretty sure that was
and that should be her request
Oh, I'll add
to
that
the select board.
as an alternate.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make
Thank
sure,
you.
because I couldn't remember if we had a vacancy or not, but we don't, okay.
nice.
Did you believe I have one more thing?
Yes, keep going.
The changes we just voted on for the regulations, who do you send those to so that they get formally documented, put onto the website, changed for all the boards and committees so that they get updated in our zoning and regulations?
I think, I'm pretty sure that the land use administrator is the person who handles the zoning book, and that's what all this stuff is included in.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's where these changes would go. That's where I would start.
Okay, and I'll just give her a copy of this and the other.
I'm wondering if I can send
Send
it
it
to you.
electronically.
Yeah, because,
Oh, I could send it electronically.
oh yeah, you
I have it,
You
yeah.
have it too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Could you say that again, please?
Oh, he's,
Sorry. To that,
To make the.
to make the changes
Yeah.
and to update the book.
Right.
Based on the votes that we took tonight.
But
Because
we-
the vote that you took tonight, we took tonight, the changes are effective as of now, as of this vote.
Okay, so they don't have to go through a process then to adopt those at all?
You just did it.
Well, okay, all right. I get
It needs no further adoption, it just needs to be added to the book.
Yeah, I didn't know what the procedure was for doing that.
But the ordinances will be voted on in
Yeah.
March.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So they'll probably update this book then after March, I would assume.
Yeah.
So we could all have a clean copy of this eventually.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to, even though these are effective now, it wouldn't make sense to go through and update the book when we've got elections coming up in a couple of weeks and month or so, and there will be a lot of changes then, so best to do them all together.
I'm not sure how it's done now, but Ellen used to send us a packet of changes so that you didn't have to get a whole new book, but you could take out this chunk of regulations or this chunk of ordinances and swap the pages out. So you don't always get a whole new thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes in the ledgers.
Yes.
As a reminder, our next meeting is Wednesday, March 6th. We had to change it from the Tuesday because of the town elections. Now, are we done? We keep dragging it on. Okay.